Can I tell you something, and please don't tell anybody? I feel like I've got Jesus in my heart, but the devil in my pants. I love my weed, a bit of alcohol. If it's liquid and it's lethal, it's my kind of drink, because I can do all things through Baileys that strengthens me. You see, these days I find that my blouses are low and my skirts are a bit high. Buy one, get two free. My bills are small and my money is tall. I like men, any kind of man. I like muscled men. I love 6 packs, 7 packs, any kind of pack, even 1 pack. I like muscles, biceps and triceps popping out of the right places. The only problem with that picture is I'm the pastor's wife. I'm a bundle of contradictions. My confessions don't match my possessions. The moment I decided to follow Jesus, all hell let loose. You see, the preacher lied. He said to me, when you give your life to Jesus, you're going to be on a honeymoon cruise ship with him. But I've been on a battleship for my mind. It's the battleship of the 21st century. See, my soul says yes, it's my body. My body says no. I found someone like me in the scriptures. He's Brother Paul. He said the things I want to do, I find myself not doing them. It's the things I don't want to do that I find myself doing. See, I didn't always start off like that. I need to tell you a little background about me, because I was born into the skewers of promiscuity. My mom didn't know who my dad was, and I never met him. She was a prostitute, and they say you improve on your parents. By the age of 18, she had died of AIDS. I owned her beer parlor, and to be honest with you, if you do something nice, they call it a hobby. If someone's willing to pay for it, you make it a job. Boom, I became a prostitute. Money for hand, back for ground. I used what I had to get what I want. I did what I liked, not necessarily liking what I did. It paid the bills. But that was when love came to look for me. In my own office, love found me, and grace redefined me, and hope restored me. It came in form of a man. Now, he showed up in my office, and he looked kind of peculiar. So I took one look at him. I said, well, you don't look like one of the men that come here, because he was wearing something he called a suit. I called it a coat. He must have bought it from Argos. He didn't look right. I said, sir, are you some kind of preacher? He said, yes, I'm a pastor. I said, look around. This ain't a congregation. This is Soho. He said, I came to get me a wife. I said, you want to marry in a prostitute joint? I said, okay, let me indulge you. If you like it, put a ring on it. He did. Next thing I knew, I was walking down the aisle with this man, bearing in mind I don't even know his name. I said to him, are you strong enough? He said, yes. I said, you got money enough? He said, yes. Can you afford me? He said, yes. I said, what's your name again? He said, Hosea. I said, who? What kind of name is that? He said, Salvation. I said, you can't save me. And all of a sudden, in one evening, I was moving from zero to hero. I was moving from ashes to beauty. I was moving from bondage to freedom. I was moving from captivity to victory. I was moving from depression to jubilation. I was moving from failure to success. I was moving. All of a sudden, I was moving from midnight to limelight. I was a mistress, but I'd now become a madam overnight. Well, one marriage and 3 kids later, a booming ministry, I walked out on my man. And I know you'd never do that. You're sanctified in this room. You love Jesus. See, I love God. My problem was I don't fear him enough to obey him, because it's not the love of God that keeps you from sin. It's the fear of God that keeps you from evil. So I said to him, leave me alone, Hosea, because he kept coming back to look for me. He kept putting his arms around me, and I tried telling him, just leave me to go back. When you don't know what to do, you tend to go back to what you know. Ask Peter, he went fishing. And when he wasn't paying attention, I said, go back to those 3 children I had for you, because they probably aren't yours. Do a DNA. Hosea said to me, the devil is not interested in your cleavage. So why do I look around the church and I see women going around with their boobs looking like they are in on their way out, as opposed to out on their way in? I'd embarrassed my family, I'd disgraced my children, and I disrespected my husband. And what did he still want from me? I had done the crime. And he said to me, I will keep coming back for you like a diamond in a rough. He called up to my name and not my shame. I said, stop calling me my name, because your God called me a harlot. And if God calls you a harlot, you are a hoe. And he said to me, when God called you a harlot, he was referring to your profession. When he called you Goma, he was referring to your redemption. I know you might be looking back at me and saying, well, I ain't a pastor's wife. What's Goma's got to do with me? But I found someone like me in the New Testament as well. This time around, caught in the act. She was dragged across the street. I found myself being dragged across the street by the teachers of the law. I mean, never mind who it was I was sleeping with. They just found me, the girl, and drove me across the street to the person who's going to pass judgment. Bearing in mind that judgment had already been served and the sentence had already been given, because I was caught in the act. And as I got to the city center where I'd been dragged to, I was told the judge was sat in the city center. And the teachers of the law stood erect in a self-righteous stance, practicing law with no love, legalistic with prejudice. With rocks in their hands, they were about to pass judgment. They would have been justified because I had done the crime. But as I stood before this man, I didn't stand, I was on the floor. He looked at me and said no words. And instead, he came down. Now wait a second, the men who judged me stood in self-righteous stance, but the King of Glory came down. And in that moment I realized that he stooped down because I couldn't get up. And he bowed down because I couldn't stand up. And he came down because I couldn't come up. And in that same moment, our eyes met and creation story was recreated. You see, once upon a time, a bird and a fish fell in love, but where would they live? Because the bird cannot nest in waters and the fish cannot live in trees. Once upon a time, God fell in love with a girl, but where would they live? God couldn't come down to the earth because he's a spirit being, and the girl couldn't go up because of the stain of sin. So guess what God did? Dressed in righteousness, clothed in glory so that heaven needs no sun. His omnipotence and omniscience compromised. He tunneled himself from eternity into time and put himself into the womb of one that was called a whore. You see, like a mathematical equation, he reduced himself to the lowest common denominator in order to save the equation of a human God. And then he came down. You see, he could not change his structure because he is called the immutable one. But he altered his status and made himself a little lower than angels just to come to me. Now I want to ask, is that love at first sight, love at hindsight? I just call it love at no sight. And then he didn't stop there. He passed by the opulence of the southern continent, and he didn't go for the riches in the western cities. No, he left the political powers of the southern continent and made his mother's waters to be broken in a barn that was made for livestock. And then he was born to the earth, the King of Kings. Now wait a second. He began to cry for the milk he created and crawled upon the walls that he spoke into existence and cried for the arms that he made to carry him. What manner of God is this? The economists will say that was an alternative for God. And after coming down, he was used and abused by the same people he came to save. And right there, as I realized the moment he came was just for me, he began to write in the sand. I couldn't tell you what he was writing because at that moment I was crying. There were tears in my eyes like water drops on a rainy day on a window pane. I couldn't tell you, I couldn't see what he was writing, but I realized that that was the finger of God and it was making an impression upon my depression. This was a celestial being touching a terrestrial being. Divinity was touching humanity. And as he passed the judgment, he looked up and asked if anyone would like to cast the first stone. And all of a sudden, I heard the stones dropping. And he said to me, if they don't condemn you, neither do I. I had done the crime, but I realized that this God that left the infinite position of eternal Godhood and came down to the finite limitations of common manhood was not scared to touch dirt. And that was me. For where grace abounds, laws are suspended. When grace speaks, judgments are suspended. And because of his grace, I am standing here today because God became man that grace may be available to me. I almost gave up. I don't know about you. I felt like I just couldn't take a life anymore. My problems had me bound. Depression weighed me down. God held me close, so I wouldn't let go. God's mercy kept me, so I wouldn't let go. So I'm here today because God kept me. I'm alive today only because of his grace. God kept me. He kept me. God